we were not sure that there would be more people out there than on stage, given the global challenge going on next door. So thank you so much for joining us this afternoon for this conversation about the frugal economy. My name is Laetitia May. I am a journalist. I live and I work in San Francisco. I've been there since I went there to cover the frenzy of the internet bubble back in the late 90s. It's my pleasure to be here today in conversation with Sename Kofi, and can you please, sorry, in conversation with Sename Kofi Agboginnu from Togo, with Adalberto Brandão from Brazil, and with Mourad Zerouki from Rennes, well, from Algeria, and now France. So we're here to discuss the frugal economy. In a nutshell, we're talking about creating products and services which are simple, relevant, sustainable, and affordable. It's also about doing it in a context that affords very limited resources, and sometimes no resources at all, but sheer ingenuity and creativity. And too often, this ingenuity and creativity is facing up obstacles from the local cultural or regulatory context. So innovation in this context is close to making a miracle happen day in, day out. And what's magical is that the miracle does happen, and there's a lot to learn from that. So without further ado, we'll hear from our panelists. Mourad, you want to start? Introduce yourself.
Yeah, thanks a lot, Alicia. I am Mourad Zerouki. I am CEO at Waynnov. Waynnov, it's a strategy and innovation consulting society. We serve private businesses and public organizations on 4 issues: open innovation, circular economy, digital economy, and of course, frugal innovation. And I am delighted to be here. Next.
Thank you. Adalberto?
My name is Adalberto Brandão. I am an entrepreneur, founder and CEO of Div House and Scoutify. It's an engineering and sports science company, professor of 2 business schools in Brazil, and former executive in the private equity and the financial market for 14 years.
Thank you.
So Sename, I'm architect and anthropologist, and my work is to do what I call neo-vernacular, build new architecture with studying old architecture, use local dynamics, etc. And in 2012, I discovered what we call the maker movement, the hacker ethic, and I find a proximity between this do-it-yourself spirit and the traditional African society's value. So I create a concept called Low High Tech, which gives birth to an incubator, WellApp, which is a sort of a grassroots incubator.
Thank you. So Mourad, you are a business consultant, as you mentioned. You're also an associate researcher at the University of Rennes 1. And I would love for you to kick off this conversation with giving us the definition of frugal economy. What are we talking about?
Yeah. For me, frugal economy, it's simply the ability to do more, better with less. In other words, frugal economy, it's the ability to deliver functional solutions through few resources to people who have little means. Frugal innovation can be also seen as a process in the sense that it employs steps to reduce cost and the complexity of production without, of course, sacrificing quality. It looks to create value to underserved market. This is my definition of frugal innovation. Frugal innovation also can be seen as a new paradigm, that is to say, the new way to think and do innovation, which is a little bit different from the established way of doing innovation in Western developed countries. I can give you an example. For me, the most illustrative example of frugal innovation is given by the Indian Mars orbiter mission, so-called Magellan, Indian spacecraft mission was developed 3 times lower, and it involved spending what was 10 times lower than the one designed by NASA using existing components. Just to compare, Magellan cost only $60 million, about 25 millions less than the Hollywood film Gravity, and 10 times lower than the last French Air France strike. It's making it the most economical, successful mission in the history. This is, I think, the useful example to explain what frugal innovation means.
Thank you. So, Adalberto, could you please describe for us what the frugal economy actually looks like in Brazil?
We need to consider, when we're talking about to innovate or create some business in this kind of environment, we need to look to the environment to understand the reality. So people are living and trying to work, to do your things with a restriction of resource. So the entrepreneurs in this kind of environment have a lot of problems with politicians, laws, regulation, taxation. It's a very complex situation. And they usually say they are forged by adversity. And this context create a scenario that they need to do something different. They need to create and think how innovate, considering all these aspects, and using what I'm saying about empathy. We need to leave the context. We need to leave the reality of our user or of our customers and understand what they really need. I saw many entrepreneurs creating things and they don't try to understand the reality of this citizens.
So talking about Brazil in particular, can you give us some examples of the kind of difficulties and obstacles you're facing?
So, yeah. For example, we need to create more productive and efficient public policies. And it's very difficult to deal with the government for many reasons. And there is a company like MGov, it's a Brazilian technology company. They are using analog technology to collect data from SMS and voice from distant and remote zones to understand their necessity about health, about food, about infrastructure, collect this data in very cheap way in analog telephones to create a database to support government. And they present it in a very simple, cheap, and collect it very fast because we don't have many resources to cover Brazil. It's almost a continent, it's a huge country. So they do all of these things with very simple technology. It's not an app, it's not an iPhone, it's not a very sophisticated thing, but it's extremely useful, extremely efficient, and they need to understand our context. The Brazilians, only a few % of the population have access to very good smartphones and broadband and fast internet. So they deal with all these infrastructure contexts, create something simple, useful, affordable, and the government are using it in healthcare infrastructure, social policies.
This is great. Thank you. Tsunami.
Yes, I agree with Adalberto. I think this frugal innovation movement is like a new movement. It is in definition. So you don't have the same approach as you are in the north, as you are in the south. And what we try to do as in Togo, and what we call low high tech, which is a sort of equivalent of this Jugad spirit, is to solve our problem and try to do very high technological project, but with what we have in our hands. But it is not only in a low-cost vision. It is also because we think there is an inclusive aspect. We think that people need to make things for themselves. If you want to have things who works and which you can easily appropriate, you need to make it yourself. So we help people to be able to solve their problem themselves. And this hacker ethic who inspires is very critic of the industry and of the market. So how we try to do is to make innovation but innovation of proximity.
Do you want to tell us about the bar camps you created and the WearLab, the way the WearLab was created?
Yes, this low high-tech concept gave birth first to an urban project. We beginning to think about how we can change the city and how we can fabricate the city ourselves. So we choose to make camp and lab, make camp to make people more close, to help them have this cohesion we have in
Bring
our
the community
villages.
together.
Yes, and after the camp, we create a lab people can use and have the technology to begin to fabricate the solution. So the idea is to make a lot of camp and create a lot of lab, because there is two things which work in our villages. In our villages, we have moments like ritual moments when people come and decide together, exchange. And they have some space like initiation space when young people can be trained to this or this.
I'd like to
Yeah?
point,
Go ahead.
considering what we are talking about community,
Yes.
what we are talking. So there are two important things. One is, in a context like that, you can do some things for hundreds or for thousands. We are doing some things for millions.
Right.
So it's a very important point. And the other point is, in some condition, we have government or entrepreneurs creating things for someone.
Yes.
But we need to use this context or co-working, co-management, co-collaboration, because it reduces extremely the cost. It's everybody collaborating, working together, giving their insights, their inputs to solve problems. So I strongly believe in the power of this knowledge,
Right.
community knowledge, and it makes things working very fast. And you need to be smart in the aspect to use in our favor the network effect to improve and give force and support these kind of solutions.
So we're going to expand on that, on what's important, what are the keys to being successful in a frugal economy. Mourad, can you share with us what you see as being the assets, the advantages of working in a frugal economy, as adversity pushes people, against the wall, and they come up with amazing resources. Actually.
For that, I'd like to add a comment.
Yes.
I think frugal innovation in developing countries begins with a question. how we can do more with less while serving the basic needs of both population. The results are often good quality,
Yes.
functional product who are reasonably priced in order to be affordable for many people, namely poor people. This way of doing is very different from the West system of doing innovation. For example, in the West, the practice is that it's based on the top-down approach, targeting first the consumer, richer consumer, the consumer who have more resources, more income. For example, a product, for me, a typical product who is not frugal, it's French, the French fighter jet, Rafale. Rafale is product which is sophisticated, complex, but way too expensive to win contract in export market. And about advantages of frugal innovation, I think in the age of austerity in Europe, firms, leader firms in Europe and in France mainly, can be frugal to reach other markets, namely in emerging markets, where the growth is faster, more faster. And frugal innovation can allow these firms to reduce their cost of production.
Right.
Another advantages, I think, frugal innovation, it's also a sustainable model because it's taken into account the scarcity of resources, water, oil, and so on.
So I usually say that if the life gives you a lemon, it's not enough to make a lemonade. You need something stronger. So we in Brazil prefer to do a caipirinha with that. So, and we can explore it in many different ways with many tropical fruits, with different beverages. So in harsh circumstances, in difficult situations, complain will not do much. We say, while others cry, we sell tissues. We need to look for these situations, this problem, and see, okay, it's a problem for me, it's a problem for everybody, so if I solve this kind of problem, I will turn it in an amazing opportunity. So, and sometimes people are very worried and preoccupied about, I need to have a disruptive innovation. I need to have an extremely innovative idea. And in my point of view, it's much more important than a creative idea is how creative you are to explore your idea. You need to create different value propositions, different ways to reach your users, different monetization models, and we will create value for different users, considering all these resources and problems. And with these new ideas, with exploring creatively your idea, you create something extremely useful. So it's.
Could you give us an example?
I will give an example in our education scenario. We are one of the most countries in the international ranks in education. And we have a company that call it Geek, and they create a technology that they use artificial intelligence to learn how the students learn, how fast, how their strongest, their weakness, and they offer content in accordance with their capacity and velocity. So it's creating a huge impact in public education and the private education, personalizing the learning process. So it demands a huge investment, but it's affordable for the users, and they can reach millions and really transform a country, because education is the core problem for every problem. Everything we can solve after that. So if we don't solve this kind of problem, education in Africa or Brazil or other Latin America countries, we will not solve anything more. So it's an amazing company, amazing tech startup that are doing an amazing job with a huge and impactful technology in a very affordable way.
So Nama, can you tell us about the way you've been harnessing the resources that you have available in Lomé through with people and their creativity and recycling whatever material is available to you through the Well Lab and with the 3D printers project?
But it is very simple. We are a community of about 20, 30 boys and girls who work together, and we develop projects with in a collaborative way with what we have in our hands. And as we don't have a lot of money, we develop a lot of projects with waste. You know, our space gives birth to this WAFAT project, which is the first African 3D printer, and a 3D printer made with e-waste, but not because we love e-waste or because we have this climate concern. It is just because e-waste are available now. It is like a natural material. You can find it in Africa because the West sent all his e-waste in Africa. So the idea is to use this e-waste, build new machine, and maybe send it back to the West. But the resources is not only material; it is also human. The thing more important is to have an open concept. In our lab, we don't have a lot of engineer, even developer. We have tailor, mason, carpenter. We have also a sort of homeless who used to sleep in front of the lab, and we asked him to come and sleep in the lab, and he helped us a lot because he know very well how to make urban agriculture, and we have a lot of urban agriculture projects, but we don't know, we are only tech, and he helped us a lot with this project. But if we don't open the space, we don't have intelligence like this, which can seem marginal.
What about those visitors who come to you and who also bring something?
Yes, the philosophy of the space is to share. Everybody share what he knows with the others, and we oblige also visitors to share. And the history I tell you last time is that one day we have a journalist who came from France to make a subject for Arte, and we asked him to make a course. You can't just come, make your video and go. You need to share something with us. And he made a course about how to use a camera, etc. And he was very happy to be useful to us.
I would like to point an idea. Many people are required for innovation to the creation of cheap product, yes. Which is absolutely wrong. I think. Why? For me, frog innovation is not about a lower spec or a lower quality. It's about a lower barriers to access. Why? I think a product needs to be robust because the context of usage of this product are extreme. This product are used in environment which is extreme. It's for this reason, frog innovation needs to be robust and intuitive to use, to be useful for many people. who have little means. I think frugal innovation often, but not always, has a social mission.
Right. So, yeah, go ahead. This is actually the perfect segue into our next part of this session, which is really about the social impact of businesses in the frugal economy. Inherently, they have a social responsibility. I mean, it's in the DNA of the whole ecosystem. Adalberto, you had a great story you told us last night. About you?
Yeah?
Yeah.
About Angola?
About you, about the, some useless products, yeah.
An important point for me, it's, and considering what Mourad talked about, is there is not such a thing as a details. We always need to strive to excellence. Doesn't matter if it's a big or small thing. We need to do your best. And for example, I was a high-performance athlete for more than almost 2 decades, and I'm stay away many years, and I come back. And when I start to practice again as a master in water polo, I saw that the digital revolution didn't happen in the sports or in the healthcare. So a lot of innovations in this area could create a huge impact. We are creating a platform, Scoutify, to record, integrate, analyze, and share sport data, integrating all the stakeholders. And it will be free for athletes and professionals, nutritionists, coaches, physiotherapists, many professionals. And we create a different way to monetize this project and deliver some top-edge technology for free for everyone. So, and we need to create many alternatives to make money with this. And we are doing it in the best way we can to deliver this technology for everybody. So,
there's an interesting trend, obviously, about frugal economy beginning to permeate strategies in the Western companies in the West. Bootstrapping, of course, and the maker movement heavily borrow from that. But also more and more consumers and even regulation demand that businesses become responsible citizens. How do you observe that? How do you in the context of your work, what are you observing in those companies that you work with?
In the beginning, frugal innovation is practiced in developing countries. The new trend is we observe that many Western companies practice frugal innovation in its domestic market in Europe. I will give you 2 examples. First one is Siemens that tried to implement their success stories in India and in China to buy product unit product. Unit product cheap, for example, cheap X-ray machines, which is customized for Europe requirements, for example. Another example is I don't know if public knows the nickel account. Nickel account. It's the first frugal account with no bank. For nickel account is created by Hugues Le Bret, the French banker. The system of account nickel allows enable thousands of French people without a bank to get international number and card debt in 5 minutes in a local tobacconist, for example. The nickel account give a cheap alternative to those people who are outside of mainstream bank system to have to send and receive money in the cheapest way.
Tantamount to what M-Pesa is doing
Yeah,
in
yeah,
Africa.
in Africa, yeah,
for
it's
mobile
another,
payments.
yeah,
Yeah.
We are talking about big companies, private companies, social responsibilities, and we deal with a different scenario in our context, because it's very common to see an event like that, huge companies supporting, investing, sponsoring. So we saw the same companies, not in this case, but the same companies that support Accelerator in US. You present the CEO a project very similar with a lot of value proposition, a huge engagement, and they say, no, it's not important. No, here it's not important. The innovation will be created in the mothership. So it will be created in Germany or in UK or in France or in US. Now here we need to sell and increase our market share. And sometimes you need to create a lot of alternatives to prove then that your proposal have value and could transform their business in other aspects. But it's difficult to deal with private companies that do the same in many other countries. In your country, they don't want to support you. They don't want to support the entrepreneurial ecosystem. So it's difficult to deal with it. It's a difference. So we need to explore our projects in very different ways to show and to create value for them. And it's a huge exercise.
Yes, yeah, I think that big companies are now interested in this frugal concept because of the process which can help them, which can help them have low-cost projects, and all the time these products are for the developing countries. But I think those companies have find another way to be frugal, but for this market. We are also interested in make money in our lab. We are not just cyber IP. No, we have a program of incubation. We have 5 startups in our lab, and the 5 startups don't belong to anyone. The 5 belongs to our community, and each member of the community can work of this startup or this one, and have money, and the rest of the money is for the whole community. And each of our startup make open meeting like conseil d'administration, but open for everybody. You can just come and express your need during this meeting, and you can also work for the company even if you are not in the community. If you come and tomorrow we have a contract and you are available, you can come and work with this. And this sort of concept or way of seeing the business is also frugal, because you work with every hand you have available, and you maximize with all this intelligence, which can be spontaneous, etc.
Can you tell us what each startup is about? Each startup, what do they do?
We have 5 startups, 3 on the web, on the web, and 2 on hardware. We have a startup called Webot, who try to build machine with e-waste, like machine for make agriculture, like our 3D printer. We have another startup, Terre, who try to think to how to make agricultural urban agriculture in African context. We have a startup called Native. We work on social media and try to think about how you can make money with social media by using everyone, even people who don't tech. We have a startup, Modela, who work on open source geographical systems. And the last one, Zulu, work on 3D printing concepts and social graphism, we call it.
So it seems to me that entrepreneurs and businesses here in the Western world who are interested in applying more of the lean principles to their own processes would have a lot to learn from you guys, because you know how to deal with adversity. I would love to hear about the kind of conversations you have with people when you are here or in Silicon Valley. Or
I went to Silicon Valley sometimes to learn, to study, and learn how they do things, how they create things, what kind of methodologies, what kind of tools they use, how they do things so fast. And because we need to do it faster and cheaper. And one of the things that I learned is listen much more. Listen our users, investigate them, live their lives, understand what they are doing, what they are. Sometimes we need to bring to light unmet needs, innate behaviors, latent desires, some things that people even imagine, but they will like, they will use if it exists. And this process only happened with you create this habit to participate of their life. So I'm studying, collecting many methodologies. I combine many of them: lean startup, customer development, design thinking for an IDEO, customer development from Steve Blank, lean startup, Eric Ries, and business model design. So I combine these things to improve our chance to do something that's really important, that really will attend this demand. So I think learn this and teach these methodologies in our countries, in our communities, for our entrepreneurs is something absolutely important. And it could increase significantly the successful of the startups and the process to create new business. And I'm living this in my own business, and it's an incredible experience. And it's my suggestion. So we need to learn and spread this concept to increase the successful and turns new projects really successful.
I think for Western companies that want to practice frog innovation, they need to, I think, to begin by deep understanding of the real needs of both people. I think it's very important. The question of the value of the real needs, it's very important. I think in Europe, mainly in France, we have forgotten the way to be frugal, the way to be ingenious. I think in France, France is the land of engineers. It's not the land of ingenuity. I remember when I was in Algeria, when I was a boy, I remember that with my friends, with my brothers, we create our own toys. It's very important. While here in France, kids ask their parents to buy them. I think we need to be ingenious. To practice frog innovation, we need ingenuity.
It's something very interesting because you not see in Brazil or in Latin America or in Africa or other countries someone that will create something ridiculous, something that's not significant, fundraising 1 million, 2 millions to create an app to say, yo, to say, bro, to say something that's it's not important for us. It's really insignificant. So it's not easy to fundraising in this kind of environment. So we really work hard in the concept of bootstrapping. I listen, it's a very interesting word, and when we are in Silicon Valley, we are bootstrapping, we are sitting in our home with 3 colleagues in a very expensive university that your parents are paying a huge tuition, and you are talking about bootstrapping. Okay, so they are spending $40,000 a year to pay your education. And what you say for a family in Brazil that don't have this kind of money, and you are studying in a public university, and you really need to bootstrap to create something. And you don't have the resource, you don't have the methodology, we don't have the class, we don't have the discipline. You need to find and investigate to learn it by themselves. So it's so we need to, if you want to fundraising, you need to create something useful. You really need to bootstrap and deal with the resource that you have, prove traction, and after that, they will say, okay, maybe it will work. Maybe we will invest in you. So it's very difficult to fundraising with only a PowerPoint or only an idea. So because the investors are living in a frugal economy too. So they don't take the same risk that the Americans do, that the venture capitalists in UK do. So they want to take risks. They want a very seasoned professional that speak truth language, that have experience, that have the failures or success to prove that they are capable, and bootstrap it, their business. And now, okay, I will evaluate. I will consider this possibility. So in the West, people say about bootstrap, they need to taste many other lemons before.
I need to go to Brazil.
Yeah, send me.
Yes, I agree with that. I think I'm very prudent when I talk with Western people to don't give like solution clé en main, because you need to build your everything by the base. It is not the same contest. People need to really understand this. Okay, we are all concerned about this frugal concept. There is this social advantage in both sides, but it is not the same trajectory. The West came to this frugal, to all this frugal because of his history, because of some crises, economic crises, ethical crises, philosophical crises. And there is a lot of humanity. There is a vision of humanity in this frugal interest, but it is not the same for us in Africa. We don't have this philosophical crisis. We have society very social. We have a lot of links, and we are interested in frugal to go to to make better what we are doing right now. It is an habit. It is what we call system day. We are already frugal. We just need to make it more professional. And so it's like meet me at the halfway. The West try to be more human, and we try to be more professional in what we do.
I think, of course, that we deal with this methodologies and this situation because our contacts. But in Europe, like in 2009, you lived a huge crisis, and in the next years it happened. You are recovering, but there are many students and young people unemployed, and why not? it's not only to, you don't need to use this only in countries that you don't have resource. But if you here don't have resource, or if you are living some situation, you need to do more with less. So Spain, Greece, a lot of countries in Europe live in a difficult situation. So they need to work more, they need to work harder, they need to work more efficient, they need to deal with our reality. Because it's sometimes when we are only see the context. So now we have a problem. So you have a problem, you need to change our behavior. But I adopt this concept for my life in every aspect. In the personal life, in my home, in my business, it's belong to me, and you can use this in the same situation, the same in a different situation, like in Europe. So you can change your behavior, not only considering the context or the crisis, but you can decide to do things differently. Doesn't matter the
Sam, do you want to say a word about the maker movement?
Yes, as I say, the maker movement, if you understand very well the maker movement, it's processed by what Pekka Aimanen called the hacker ethic. And it is it is a sort of alternative to the big market and to the industrial society. And it is the same with the frugal idea, is to try to escape to this big market, and maybe in the big market, everything you use is not developed for you. You use the same thing like other, but there is no two people who are the same. So in the what the maker movement can help to do, and it is very important for the frugal innovation concept, is to give the tools and the process to make frugal. I think so. It is two universes who are very close. That's why there is a lot of confusion sometimes.
I think in Europe, more people are becoming frugal, are seeing for cheap, low-cost product. The steady decrease in the purchasing power of middle class in Europe push many firms in Western economy to reinvent its business model to provide product that respect environment and product of good quality and affordable product to those people who are situated or located at the bottom of the pyramid. The success of La Lugane, it's very demonstrative in France, for example. There are many examples like that to explain the success of frugal innovation in Western context.
Other questions?
Yes.
Where? Someone's
The question on Twitter.
on Twitter. Question for you guys. What digital actor can learn from frugal methodology? Can we imagine a frugal web service?
Adalberto, I think this one is for you.
I really think we can try to. It's difficult to give examples like frugal. We do our tools, our house, because it's very distant from the reality of the other guys. So I think digital is the easiest way to be frugal in this environment, because you can create something scalable and replicable with low resource that can impact a lot of people. We saw this kind of mindset in the cloud services, because you pay what you use and the costs are reducing. If you compare the cost of the cloud services down, the price. So it's a kind of example. If you do something scalable, replicable, you have a huge chance to deliver that in an affordable way. So it's the easiest way to do this, because to create a toy, it's a human demand, it's time demand. You need people to create a toy, to sell a toy. But I'm creating a platform, I'm using top technologies, the most secure web services, and I will deliver it for free. So it's the easiest way to be frugal. So we only need to investigate and create something scalable. If you create something scalable, you will create something affordable, because the marginal economy of scale. So it's very important in the digital environment. The
other part of it is that it needs to be relevant.
Yeah.
And truly meets.
Certainly.
To answer this question, I have an example in mind. If we look at what happened in Africa, 98% of Africans are equipped by mobile phones. Many things today can be made via frugal phones, via mobile phones. For example, Vodafone launched a service from to Kenyan telecom operator called Safaricom. System is M-Pesa. M-Pesa is mobile system payment that enables thousands of Kenyan people without a bank account to send and receive money using their mobile phones. Today, 15 million of Kenyans use M-Pesa. It's more over than the Kenyan people who hold bank account. It's very interesting, I think, example to explain what digital companies can make with frugal innovation.
I have only another point is, I'm seeing a huge transformation in our society. People don't want to see more this so many corruption cases, so many problems in politics and economics. So the organizations, the population are urged for something different. So if you create something that you give the ownership, you give voice, you give power to people, it's something very important in this context. I think using technology, you can do this very cheap, fast, it's easy, and we will see a huge transformation, because they want to collaborate, they want to say something and be part of this transformation in your business, in the government, in the politics, in everything. So if you give power and voice, maybe you need to prepare and stay prepared to listen back. So and acting. So I think it's extremely powerful.
I think we have time for a last question. Okay. Well, in this case, thank you very much for joining us this afternoon. Thank you to our panelists for this great conversation, and we look forward to pursuing the conversation out in the hall, if you so wish. Thank you.